What is a buffer solution? A buffer solution is a solution that minimizes. And it minimizes changes in what? pH. And when does it do that? When a small amount, because eventually, if you add a large amount, it'll overcome the buffer. When a small amount of strong acid or base is added. This is what we call an operational definition. Why do you think it is called an operational definition? Tell your partner what you think. Why do we call this an operational definition? An operational definition is one which describes how the thing works, how it operates. i.e., how it operates. What substances must be present in order for a buffer system to be set up? See if you can think back to last day. And if you can't think back to last day, please feel free to flip through your notes, take a look. Ooh, yes, we need to have a high concentration of certain things. Okay, so what kind of chemical species do we need to have here? And remember, this is our acid-base unit, so we're probably talking about either acids or bases or salts. Okay, we're probably not talking about, elemental argon. We need to have a weak acid. And what else? A weak base, and not just any old weak base. A weak acid and its conjugate weak base. Or, and we didn't cover this last time, but you might be able to guess. A weak base and its conjugate weak acid, yes. We're going to deal with the first case here only just for a little bit, okay? Actually, no, we could say, why must the acid / base be weak? Yeah, because otherwise you cannot get an equilibrium. So let's compare weak acid, I don't know, let's call it HF. H plus F minus. Strong acid, HCl. H plus Cl minus. Why is it important that this be an equilibrium? It needs to be able to shift both directions, yes? In order to either use up H plus or produce H plus. Whereas if you have a strong acid, it can't shift. Right? Too bad, just can't. Why must the concentrations be high? Chat with your neighbor about that. Why do we need to have high concentrations of the HF and the F minus, or whatever the acid and base are? I don't hear much chit chat. Chit chat with your neighbor. Why do the concentrations have to be high? What will happen if the concentrations are low? As it's shifting, what's going to happen? You're just going to run out of something, right? Okay, if the concentrations are low, as it shifts, it will simply run out of something and it will no longer be able to shift any further. Okay, so that's good. That's good. If I want a high concentration of F, HF, and F minus, what must I add to my solution? What must I put in my solution? One of them's really easy. The other is not quite as easy, but it's not much harder. Tell your neighbor. And if you're on your phone, get off your phone. Nobody is talking with their neighbor, or very few of you are. Talk with your neighbor. So what do you guys think? Thank you. I mean, one of them is incredibly obvious. Like more obvious, like it smacks you in the head with how obvious it is. What's one thing we need to put in there? Super obvious. HF, right? We need HF. Let's put in some HF. All right, now you got another thing that you need to put in there. Think about that one. Chat about that one. What else do we need to put in? F minus with something, because we can't just get F minus on its own. Who should we put it with? NA. Why not? Or KF. So basically what we need is we need the weak acid plus the salt of its a salt of its conjugate base. I call this WASCABA. A weak acid plus the salt of its conjugate base, WASCABA, which kind of sounds like it almost is like something like a wascally wabbit, a WASCABA. I don't know. And so far, this is the only kind of buffer we've focused on, is the weak acid plus the salt of its conjugate base. What if we wanted the other type, which was the weak base and its conjugate weak acid? I would like you guys to come up with the formula of a neutral, like charge-wise, so not positive or negative, a neutral weak base. An electrically neutral weak base. Go look on your chart, find me an electrically neutral, I know, weak base. So we go over to our base side and we say charge, 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 oh, neutral, NH3. Yes? So we have a weak base. NH3. What would we need to put with it? Well, if I just have water, then I'll have lots of NH3. I mean, yeah, yes, it's true. We need to have water, but I'm just assuming everything's aqueous in this entire unit because you cannot have acids and bases without it being in water. So if we have NH3, what do we need as well? Who is the other species that it's going to go with? Its conjugate acid. Who is its conjugate acid? NH4 plus. So we need lots of this, and we need lots of that. What do we need to add to what do we need to put in our solution? Sorry, my writing is not working very well. What do we need to put in our solution to get lots of the NH3 and lots of the NH4 plus? Don't think too hard. Once again, one of them is super obvious. NH3, we need to put in NH3, yes. NH4NO3. Because can we add NH4 plus all on its own? You can't add ions all on their own. They have to come as a part of a compound. So we have a weak base plus a salt of its conjugate acid. Which if we put that all together, we don't get Waskaba, we get Wubska. Okay, a weak base plus the salt of its conjugate acid. Now, when you have amphiprotic ions, you can actually end up with a salt and a different salt, okay? So for example, what if I gave you some Na HCO3. So your homework is page 74 all, and we'll finish up on buffers next class. Na2CO3, we'll finish that next class. Okay?